Kieran here, Boxing Bants, and happy to be joined here with Eddie Hearn. Eddie here in Belfast since last time he was 2016, as far as I understand, with Frampton and Quick. Ryan Burnett, first of all, how do you like Belfast?
Love it, as always. You know, unfortunately, we live in a world of restrictions. There was a lot of people that couldn't get in today, and it was not quite as rowdy as it normally is because everyone's sitting distance away from each other, but still a great atmosphere, still great anticipation. And we see from ticket sales today, this is going to be a sold-out event, 9,000. I'm sure close to half of those will be your lot, and that's what we want. And what you've seen from these two press conferences over the last 2 days is just passion to win. Mick has always got a chip on his shoulder, hasn't he? That's just what makes him the fighter that he is, and he's got the bit between his teeth, and this is a tremendous fight.
You had obviously Kevin up at the start. Is the card itself, I know Terry Harper's on it now, but are you looking to get more Irish people on the card, maybe Thomas Carty or something like that?
Yeah, there'll definitely be 2 more Irish fighters on the card as well as Kevin. It's a brilliant opportunity for Kevin. I mean, the perfect, when we had this fight come up, the first thing I thought about was, we need to get Kevin on the card, because Kevin, not many fighters are blessed with the natural fan base of a Carl Frampton and a Michael Conlan. But what I'm saying to fight fans in Belfast and Ireland is you have a really special fighter in Kevin Agyarko who you can follow into big fights in the middleweight division, and that's been quite unusual. Carl's done it at super bantamweight, Michael's done it at super bantamweight, now at feather. You've got a big, strong middleweight that's really exciting to watch, and our aim with Kevin is to build him to a point where we can bring a big name to Belfast for him to headline, and that hopefully will happen at the end of this year, because we're desperate to come back here. Any time that you can come to a city and fill an arena with fight fans that genuinely understand boxing is a great blessing. So we hope to do that sooner rather than later with Kevin.
You mentioned a major title. Are you more so expecting him to defend the belt that he has, or are you thinking of something?
I think it's really about the name, to be honest with you. I mean, you need Gabe Rosado, look, Jason Quigley, Luke Keeler, Spike O'Sullivan. These are good fights where you can bring him back and get people excited about. He's only had 10 fights. If it was up to him, he'd be fighting those guys next. We need to step up the levels in the next fight, give him a good fight, good name, and then he can look at the names I've mentioned and gone, yes, I'm ready for that. But you also don't want to get it wrong with him. He's still learning, but massive potential.
Obviously, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano. Is this something that you would like to do as well for that fight? A tour around maybe the US and Ireland? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I mean, Katie Taylor, Serrano is a massive fight. Can we get Jake Paul over to Dublin for the press conference for that? Maybe. I mean, we should have a press conference for that fight in Ireland. One of the problems is Katie's based in New York there, in Connecticut, so it's flying her back and then flying her back during camp. But I feel like that fight needs absolutely every drop of promotion it deserves. It is, I know everyone says quite rightly it's the biggest fight ever in female boxing history. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing. And that fight is the moment that all the hard work that we've put in and all the hard yards that Katie Taylor and Serrano have put in over the years comes into fruition. And women's boxing can stand up and say, we're a major, major fight night here. And it's the women that are doing it, and they deserve everything they get.
Natasha Jonas said last night that Amanda Serrano is all wrong for Katie Taylor. What you think of that statement yourself?
It's a really tough fight. I think she punches very hard. She's very confident. But Katie can adapt to all kinds of different styles. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I really do. I think Katie's had 2 performances recently where arguably she hasn't been able to really get herself up for those fights. They've been solid performances, but not spectacular. But she's the kind of fighter that will put in a spectacular performance when she needs to. She's going to be very hard to beat as well. I would actually say that from that comment, I would say Katie Taylor is all wrong for Amanda Serrano. I think she's all wrong for a lot of people. But you've got 2 tremendous fighters, and I just think it's just going to be an absolute war.
Yeah. Regardless of that fight afterwards, would you like to have Katie fight here in Ireland and Dublin? That's the one thing, obviously, in this country. She's seen as the best athlete ever in this country, and the one thing that they would be expecting is for her to have a fight over here in Ireland, preferably Dublin. Is that something that you have in the works? Or?
Yeah, I think it would be a travesty really if she never got to fight in Ireland. It's difficult because we've built a big star. Obviously she's really big in England, she's big in America, and Madison Square Garden feels like the place for that fight, for that iconic moment. But maybe we do 2 fights. Maybe the next one is in Ireland, in a stadium. But I know she would love to do it. I know there hasn't been much boxing in Ireland, or certainly big time boxing or around Dublin, and we'd like to be the ones that put that together.
Yeah. You're going to laugh at me now, this question, like, a bit off, but I was speaking to Declan Geraghty there recently, and he said he's expressed his interest in fighting Robbie Davis Jr. And he said there was talks about it before, but as Declan's moving up to super lightweight, and he said to me, and this is from his words for me to tell you, he said he would fight any of your light welterweights for free, as long as he can have a fight afterwards on your shows as well. I said, look, I'll ask him.
I like Dec. He's a character, and I feel like at one stage he was considered to be a serious contender, and I'm sure he feels like he can still be that. Maybe a couple of bad moves, maybe a bit of bad preparation or bad luck, and things can change. But I'll have a look. We've got a few 140s. We'll have a look. Yeah. I'll pay him though. He hasn't got a fight for free. I'll pay him.
Last question I have for you. I really appreciate your time. I was recently interviewing Maurenn Shea not too long ago, and she was ranked just behind Serrano and Conlan for the WBA Bantamweight, just around the time that the WBA belt was fought for by Ebony and Shannon Courtney, and I think she said she was in the middle of a negotiation for the belt, and then when they went back to WBA, said the belt's at Matchroom. Has there been any conversation? She said that she's offered to fight Rachel Ball. Is there any talks and negotiations about that belt being fought for after the Shannon Courtney rematch, obviously, with Maureen, Shannon Conlan?
I haven't had those conversations, but at the same time, Jamie Mitchell, who's the new champion, is going to fight Carly Skelly at Liverpool on Feb 5th. And then the aim is to make the rematch with Shannon Courtney after that against the winner of that fight. And then after that, they're great fighters, and we'll see what happens.
Right. Okay. Well, look, really appreciate your time, Eddie, and thanks very much.